What is up, people of the world? It is me again, Alex Swimmer, aka AP3 Jumped, and welcome to the VLogz 148, where I am not alone in this video because I have a special guest.
Yep, I, the great TBone186, have returned to this channel of AP3JNPT.
And yeah, today we're doing this is kind of we're doing a belated discussion video / review about 2019 Survivor Series.
Yep, it's basically a rough draft to see if anyone likes or would pay attention to our thoughts on these shows, because I've always been a big fan and I would love to critique what I see. So hopefully someone could take our input and create a better product rather than the one that we have been seeing.
Yeah, the last WWE show, well, rather the first WWE show I did a review about was WrestleMania this year. I did that with Michael.
What I want to say about this year's WrestleMania, well, actually, I guess I might as well say about this WrestleMania because it's on the same token, and that's that there wasn't that many marquee matches at WrestleMania, like Triple H versus Batista, right? That was a big one, or the women's triple threat. But I mean, you can have good match quality, but you have to care about who's in the matches. And on the same token, if we care about who's in the matches, sometimes you need better than just a DQ finish, or just something that was quite obviously sloppily thrown together, whether that be a promo or a match.
Right.
So talking about that, Survivor Series was only 3.5 hours long, which I believe is the shortest Survivor Series in quite some time. Because normally these big 4 pay-per-views have been running at around 5 hours long, and the regular as much as 4 hours, and that's been over the past year to year and a half.
Yeah.
Now the interesting thing about this Survivor Series show is that it had so many people, yet was only 3.5 hours long, but it felt like 5.5 hours watching it. It felt like a very long, slow, boring show.
In my opinion, I felt like it. I didn't really feel that way at all. Still felt like 3.5 hours to me.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I wasn't exactly sure how long it was going to be.
True. Well, I think it was also your first pay-per-view event since WrestleMania, or pretty close, other than
yeah, I
Crown
haven't
Jewel.
really watched any pay-per-view since, so yeah, because that was during my WWE hiatus.
Yeah. So once you get to watching these pay-per-views, every pay-per-view that comes out for years and years and years, you start to get a feel of which one's great and which one's meh, and not so good.
Yeah.
So let's kick it off with the opening promo package, and the problems begin here. Whether it be just from the stupid dance music that they had playing that was very poppy sounding, it doesn't sound like you'd be playing that leading into a big fight feel. And on top of that, there was just so much commentary for all the matches that they were trying to build. It's like they didn't even have any matches to build. They had to just talk about them. There was more commentary in this package than there actually was highlights of wrestling moves. And I didn't like that. Packages are supposed to be exciting, really make you want to watch the show. Man, I have to see this match to see what's going to happen. And I did not get that sense of urgency from this package.
I do agree with that.
On a side note, though, when we got our first camera shots on the show, we saw that posters still exist, which means there's more interest in the product for people who are watching at home, for people who are going to the show, who are writing on their posters hoping that a wrestler sees it or they get seen on TV. That's just overall more interest in the product, and that's a good thing. And I also like the pyro. The opening fireworks was very nice. I'm glad they brought those back.
Yeah, those are awesome.
Because they need to be around more often than just WrestleMania and the Saudi shows.
Right. And I've even got to see fireworks live in some shows, and it's a sight to behold. It damn near makes you deaf, but they're just.
Yeah,
you have to know. You have to experience it to know what I'm talking about.
It's like damn near intimidating. And then you have some of your favorite wrestlers like Kane with the fire in the corners and the fire that would come up.
I miss that, man.
Right. You would think, man, I can't wait till they go to this show just so I can see my favorite superstars' fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything about the show needs to be important.
And more needs like more pizzazz, dare I say, and more Should be more flashy overall, and with its like presentation for like the stage and pyrotechnics and whatnot.
Correct. They've gotten lazy. They think that they can just produce a show and that people just come to it because they're wrestling.
Yeah.
Our first match, it's a 5-on-5-on-5 women's match. So my first con for this is it's a women's match to start out, and I know there's some people who's gonna call me sexist for saying that, but the reality is us wrestling fans expect a pretty high standard in the ring, and when you start off with a women's match, you expect already a little bit of a lower quality match in the ring. And on top of that, it means they're going to have to try twice as hard for anything they do to be viewed as something that actually matters or that's cared for. And that's simply due to how they were treated for the past, 50 to 100 years in the business. Here in the past 5 years, the women's revolution has finally started to mean something. But it can mean more if they stop calling it that and they just do more.
Yeah, it's like the Divas division has definitely been taken a lot more seriously within like the past few years, and in my opinion, I feel like they've been on the same level as the guys for a few years.
Correct. They're not even called Divas anymore.
No, they're called superstars.
Right, and that was the correct move.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you can just take women's matches and make them the opener and the main event in every big match on the card and expect it to go off well, because you still need to build these matches and treat these matches as if they're actually important.
So you're saying they're not going to sell as well to audience members?
Well, your first match needs to be a hot start to the show. Your first match on the card sets your pace, and it's like, damn, that was really exciting. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next in the show. It's supposed to make you anticipate the rest of it. And in the first match, which we're going to start talking about now, Raw had Charlotte, Natalya, Sarah Logan, and the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane. You can tell I'm a wrestling fan because I know how to say all these names. NXT had Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Io Shirai, Candice LeRae, and Toni Storm. And SmackDown had Lacey Evans, Carmella, Sasha Banks, Dana Brooke, and Nikki Cross. Now, the way I'm going to go through these matches is going to be a little different at the second half of the show versus the first half, because the way I took my notes was just different. So we'll have to excuse that.
You took a plethora of notes, by the way. I commend him for that.
6 pages.
Good effort.
Our con for all these tag team matches is back slap tags. So if someone's in the ring and you just tap like this on their shoulder, that's not a tag. You're supposed to tag their hand while also holding the little rope that's from the corner, white rope that sticks out like a string. That's the tag rope. Most people probably don't even know what it's for, because you never hear commentary talk about the rules of wrestling. Ever.
At least not anymore.
No. And you never hear commentary call what the wrestling moves actually are. Oh, what a nice slam. What a nice throw. Like, no, you idiots. That's what's supposed to invest interest in this product. Oh, look at this type of slam, this type of move, this tilt-a-whirl, this Hurricane Rana.
Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler still do a good job of naming the moves. They know what the moves are.
Correct. And sometimes it's like you can tell they're just telling them to say something else because they know what these moves are.
Yeah.
We have multi-pin attempts. If your move doesn't pin a wrestler after your first pin attempt, why would you try to pin them 2 more times with the same, after that? Now, I'm not talking about doing another move. I'm talking about doing a slam, pin, kick out, pin them 2 more times. Just, I don't know. Maybe there's no excuse for it. Just dumb. Carmella's outfit, she shows a lot of skin, but there's not really a lot of skin to be shown. So I don't like Carmella's outfit. I think it's way too risque for the person who's wearing it. I loved Io Shirai's basement drop kick to the face. That was amazing. I love Charlotte's spear from Survivor Series.
Yeah.
She put that in amazingly. It looked better than Roman's. Sarah Logan had a double knees coming off the top, almost like a Meteora. And Kairi Sane actually had a poor insane elbow in this match. I was surprised. She got hardly any height at all coming off the corner. Sasha Banks saved Toni Storm from a pinfall, even though that she wasn't a member of her team, which to me exposes the match for showing that she wasn't supposed to get pinned at that time or whatever, some miscommunication. Moves that are not finishers that are being used to end the match for some of the women. And you saw the same thing in the men's match. I mean, I can see how that creates more spontaneity for like, oh, any move can end the match, but not when these moves never end matches, other than obviously to save time in these 15 wrestler matches. If you're going to do that, you probably shouldn't have 15 wrestlers in the match.
Yeah, this match was pretty insane. It was an elimination match, wasn't it?
It was an elimination match. Now that's a pro of the match. You had 3 women in the match at all times, instead of that stupid thing they do every now and then where there's only 2 and the third team gets tagged in if someone happens to get close enough to them.
Yeah, I did really like, the setup of this match and the flow of it. The flow felt very organic, and it was just a lot of fun to watch. I don't really see matches like this too often with massive teams and three 5-people teams.
Yeah.
Versus each other in an elimination match. Like, that's super specific, and I love it for that.
I didn't write down the match times or anything like that, but this first match felt like it had about 15 minutes for 15 women. Mm-hmm. And if you only have a minute to show what you can do to an audience, especially these NXT girls, there's 5 of them, a minute per each, I mean, is that really going to demonstrate or sell your product that well?
Not sure.
I don't know that it will. I didn't like that the Raw women turned on each other at the end of that match. I thought that was a lazy booking decision. They should at least care enough about their brand to try and win the match.
And this isn't the first time we would see something like this, where team members are turning on one another.
Yeah, correct. We saw the same thing in the men's 5-on-5 match.
Yeah, but we're getting ahead of ourselves here.
The entry angle for the Kabuki Warriors. Not the Kabuki Warriors. Hold on, that's wrong. They're from Raw. The entry angle for, I believe it to be Io Shirai and Candice LeRae. I could be wrong, but the 2 NXT women who were injured in that match was not shown on the camera at all. How they were injured, they were just taken back. I did not like that at all. That was nonsense. The match felt a little clunky of things just kind of happening and spots shifting to another spot with not a whole lot of transitions to get there. And that comes also with not having enough time to get to the next spot, so you just have to go spot, 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 spot. And you can tell when a match is built that way. Akana is too many people, not enough time. We basically already said that. Sasha, I thought, teamed up with another girl to pin the weakest of NXT left instead of the strongest girl first. So there was no sense of underdog versus an underdog or anything like that. And as a result, the crowd didn't care when it came down to like Sasha and Rhea Ripley. The crowd did not care in the slightest because of the way that they built to that. So as a result of the crowd not caring, the final 2 felt a little bit too slow. We really just wanted to see a winner so we could get that big pop in the match. I thought Natalya having a sharpshooter in at the same time as Sasha Banks having a bank statement was amazing. And I like that the Heart Attack got a pinfall, an actual tag team finisher got a pinfall in this match. I can't believe it. But the last thing I want to comment on this match, other than the quick finishes and all that, was why have the NXT girls be heels to win this match? The ones who were injured to come back and be out of the referee's sight to do things nefariously to give NXT the win. I really did not like that, because there was no need. NXT would have looked good and fine just winning on their own. Next we have a little highlight package showing that Kevin Owens was at War Games the previous night. I thought that was a good rub for Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins had a face-to-face promo that felt real and had heat on it. It felt like a real personal conversation. Yeah. Miz, on the other hand, when he gets on camera and talks, he looks goofy. Every time he tries to be serious, he does. I don't know why he's paid to be an actor, because he can't even wrestle that.
Well.
After that, we have AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura versus Roderick Strong. This is the United States title versus the Intercontinental title versus the NXT North American Championship. My pros for this is that Roderick Strong has strong style on all of his hits and kicks. There was a great super kick sequence where Shinsuke monkey flipped AJ Styles into a super kick from Roderick Strong, which looked amazing. Knee to face from Shinsuke Nakamura. But our cons was that the match, the first 5 minutes of this match just felt like a regular TV match, and was kind of slow start. When you have a triple threat but you don't have 15 people in it, you need to have a sense of urgency. You need to have two people trying to get quick pinfalls and trying to go each other real quickly, because you're versus two other people. Mm-hmm. You know that someone's going to break up your submissions. You know that someone's going to break up your pinfalls. So you have to go balls out to try and win the match.
Exactly.
Get in double offense. Correct.
It's always harder to get a pinfall in a triple threat match more than anything. It takes like 3 times as long to.
And most of the time, only 2 wrestlers can do a move at the time, which is why triple threat matches have an odd pace. But, you know, you need to consider that when you make all these triple threat matches.
They're very hard to, from what I've learned from you, they're very hard to, coordinate well.
They are. You can see in our own show, UWA, that they're tough. Tough coordination. That's very good that you said that, actually. It's perfect. Perfect description.
Thank you.
So, other than being clunky and odd-paced, and needing a sense of urgency to beat the other 2 opponents, other than that, the match was good. A lot of strong hits and all that. Roderick Strong winning was the correct man to win. I thought we could have seen a better match, but it was better than the first match.
It was good from what I remember. Also, Shinsuke Nakamura is one of my favorites, actually. I love his moveset.
Yeah, and his facial expressions.
Yeah.
It's funny that the one who doesn't speak English is better at getting body language across.
My dad said he speaks a little English. He writes better English than he speaks it.
Right. Yeah. Next, we had the NXT Championship match with Adam Cole versus Pete Dunne. And this match was clearly there just to get NXT viewership. So it didn't really need to be on Survivor Series.
Yeah, this was what, the NXT Championship match? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, this is just more like, hey, look at what NXT can do. So this match probably had more freedom than the rest of the matches. I thought Cole needed to win, but Pete Dunne should win simply because of his super long 600-day title reign that was even longer than Lesnar's. Cole needs to win because Adam Cole has lost a couple of big matches and he needs to get some steam back. Pete Dunne had very nice follow-through with every move that he did. His German suplexes, headlock takeovers, all that just had nice follow-through with movement of his weight and over that. Adam Cole had a lovely kick from the jumping from the outside, kick to the face. The holy shit Panama Sunrise we saw to the apron from the corner, that was amazing. Basically, it's a Canadian destroyer if you haven't seen it. But the big thing I noticed in this is that Pete Dunne came out with his knee wrapped up and limping, but then when he got in the match, he didn't sell the knee at all. So if you're not limping and you're not acting like your knee hurts, why am I supposed to care when you're making a comeback in this match when you've supposed to have been selling that your knee hurts and now you're finally able to get past and fight through the pain? But now you're fighting through pain that you didn't even act like was there 10 minutes ago through the rest of the match. So as a result, once again, crowd doesn't care that you're fighting through the pain of your knee that wasn't there for the rest of the match.
Yeah.
But then we had some very nice theatrics towards the end of the match because Adam Cole kicked out the mouth guard of Pete Dunne, and then we saw just an amazing series of moves to get a nice, clean finish. And the right person won.
Yeah. So, what the hell is that?
Not sure.
Oh, I think I know what that is. I think. Look.
Yeah. Oh, we only have 4 minutes left.
Alright,
we're
so
gonna have
I guess we'll take a little bit of a break and we will see you guys in a bit.
to. Yep. Instantly for you.
Yeah. Alrighty, we are back.
And one thing I forgot to mention previously was at the end of the 5-on-5 women's match, someone had their camera recording with the flash on.
Which is illegal.
Yeah.
It's not the first illegal thing I've seen an audience member do. I've seen several times where fans just have attempted to jump in the damn ring.
Yep.
For one reason or another, and yeah.
We got Seth Rollins versus The Fiend. I thought it was the best promo package of the night. It got The Fiend over as terrifying and scary. And it got Seth Rollins over as being, not Seth Rollins, good lord, Daniel Bryan versus The Fiend. It got Daniel Bryan over as being very desperate to try and win that match. I don't know why I've got Seth Rollins wrote here. Go ahead and cross that out. But okay, we got solid forearms from The Fiend and a nice just straight kick to the face from The Fiend to Daniel Bryan. And then we have Daniel Bryan throw Bray Wyatt into the steps, and he just flips completely over, making a nice sound that his knee bounced off the steps to go over top of it. Undertaker and Batista did that spot at WrestleMania 23, and I thought it looked good then too. One of the cons though, too many fucking red lights. Why? Just why? Is that supposed to be scary?
Well, let me get my input on this. It actually has a... It was a really cool effect to have, you know... In theory, having the whole match under that redlining is a really cool idea. But that cool factor only lasts for like the first 5 minutes, and then after that it starts to... I have to start to look away ever so often because it's gonna hurt my... The visuals are starting to hurt my eyes after a while, and I imagine being in there in the actual seats live in person. Yeah, that would have... I wouldn't have actually liked being there. I mean, it's give and take. It's a real cool idea. It just doesn't. It's not something yet you can properly execute. You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah, the red lights needed to be a lot brighter.
I could have worded that better, but I guess it were a little too dark.
Well, yeah, it gives a very sluggish feeling to the match, and you can't see what's going on. It messes up the flow. It messes up the emotion.
I mean, you could see everything just fine. It's just everything's just all being monochromatic. It's like the goddamn Virtual Boy, with that system being red and black and that giving people headaches and brain damage. No joke. Because that was the only colors that the Virtual Boy had, and I didn't think about that till just now. But I thought that anyway. Moving on, the match itself I thought was really good for any Falls Count Anywhere match. In my opinion, it is always good or should always be great because you literally never know what's going to happen. And I've seen matches where people go literally all across the freaking stadium or whatever. Within the seats and the stage and this, that, and the other, and these are probably one of my favorite types of matches to see because, like I said, they're the most unpredictable kinds of matches you can have. And all of the hits that Bray Wyatt he took some hits that really should have knocked him out, but apparently he's inhuman. He is inhuman, and he can apparently survive anything because Seth Rollins threw him through a bunch of shit, and I think at one point it looked like it was implied that he got electrocuted, and he just rose back up like nothing happened, just dusting himself off from sparks and fireworks and whatnot.
Yep, that was Definitely an interesting way to win the Universal title at Crown Jewel. I thought that he was literally they were gonna find that as an excuse to pin him, but they did not. Getting back to this match with Daniel Bryan, I appreciate that they didn't devalue Daniel Bryan as much as they devalued Seth Rollins. They didn't have Daniel Bryan kneeing him in the face over and over and over and over, and just doing, beating a dead horse.
Yeah. Did I really say the wrong wrestler?
You did. You said the wrong wrestler and you were in the wrong
God
match.
Damn it. Your notes threw me off for a second. I should have looked at mine. This is all my notes are. His are like 6 pages.
yeah. You weren't even in the right pay-per-view.
Yeah, your error threw my notes off. But yeah. Daniel Bryan just could not take Bray Wyatt down. He just try it as he might, he could not.
A pro was Daniel Bryan did not play to the crowd as much as he normally does. He was doing his yes kicks and things like that extremely quick to try and stay on top of Bray Wyatt, which was a nice sense of urgency, or The Fiend, I mean. I like how The Fiend had the mandible claw in, and then Daniel Bryan countered with an armbar on top of the ropes. That was fucking beautiful. I thought Daniel Bryan had too much selling for most of the match. I understand that Bray Wyatt's offense is brutal, but it doesn't have to be so brutal that a clothesline keeps you down for an hour. Come on now.
Yeah.
Let's not overdo it. So the pace needed to quicken. I thought Daniel Bryan could have got a little bit more offense in. And the really big confusing thing for me was yes, no, or maybe. Because in the promo package, Daniel Bryan was talking about how much he killed the yes movement and all that, which really got me intrigued for this match and what they were going to do with this character and his story arc going forward. And all they did was take a step backwards when they had an opportunity to rebuild him as a very good tweener. And then you have Corey Graves on commentary say, Graves says Daniel Bryan used every move he could think of. Really? Every move he could think of for like a 13-minute match. Daniel Bryan has had hour-long Iron Man matches, but this little 10-minute red light match used everything he could possibly think of.
Yeah,
sure, Corey Graves.
That's not very accurate at all.
This was a squash match at best. That was just ugly.
Squash?
Squash match means that you, like a Braun Strowman, for example, or Brock Lesnar, has a match where the other opponent might get 1 or 2 moves in, but mostly it's just dominated by the bigger person.
There's a word for that? Wow.
Yep, it's called a squash match. Next we had a standalone Ray promo with him talking to an interviewer and such, and he had surprisingly good intensity. I mean, it is still Rey Mysterio, but very good intensity. Sounded like he was serious about what he was going to do to Brock Lesnar. And here we go. Next we have the 5-on-5-on-5 male tag team match with Raw having Drew McIntyre, Ricochet, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens. SmackDown having Baron Corbin, Chad Shorty G, Roman Reigns, Ali, and Braun Strowman. And NXT having Tommaso Ciampa, Damian Priest, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, and Walter. Right from the jump on the entrances, I thought Drew and Ricochet had nice facial expressions of anger towards each other just standing on the stage. They hate each other, and I thought it was very subtle and professional the way that they were showing that, just walking to the ring. And then you have SmackDown come out, and they look much more solid and a much more believable team. Now this is where the format of the notes change, and now we can actually follow the flow of the match better. My mistake. Braun Strowman starts off the match with a nice double drop kick, hitting 2 opponents, which is the best elevation I've ever seen from him. Fully off the ground, nice, pretty much nice everything. Walter, the giant Brit, also had lovely, stiff, brutal shots. Just chest chops that was just taking skin off. Just absolutely brutal. But then he's the first person eliminated from this match. It's like, why are you going to make your now dominant NXT UK champion look like dirt like that? come out so strong and then just be the first person eliminated. So that was a waste. Next we had a strong uppercut from Ricochet. It was a European uppercut. And we saw chain wrestling between Ricochet and Shorty G, which is where you see maybe 10 moves happening in about a minute. Just very quick, fast-paced. Clearly not a whole lot of talking, just going by feel. It's what wrestling is at its best. And we see what I called a G-plex, but it's Shorty G's German suplex that he does. Looked absolutely amazing, especially where Ricochet's a little lighter and he could get that deadlift up. Another pro is we had a creative double back handspring from Ricochet. As he went up on his hands, hit the ropes, came off, did an offensive maneuver. Ricochet is just always fun to watch in the ring.
Yeah, he's a blast.
Whenever he comes out, he's like this generation's Rey Mysterio. Just watch what the man does in the ring. Shorty G was eliminated by a frog splash from Kevin Owens. Lazy booking. When's the last time Kevin Owens used a frog splash to eliminate somebody? Don't answer that. War Game Saturday with a splash to the tables. Okay, I get it. But this is not Kevin Owens' finisher. He uses a stunner or a pop-up powerbomb. So why am I seeing a frog splash in the match for a guy? Especially Shorty G, who came in as, you know, the semi-finalist for King of the Ring, but now he can't get out of a frog splash. Then Owens hit an absolutely stellar super kick to Roman Reigns, who had been arguing with Baron Corbin, and Reigns also had a beautiful sell. A con was that Owens should have been pinned with the fairy tale ending from Tommaso Ciampa instead of a draping DDT. So now we're starting to see a trend of wrestlers hitting big moves and getting pinned, and not just that, a big move that's normally a signature move, not even a finisher, is starting to get pins. We have an overplayed false RKO by Tommaso Ciampa and RKO, who are looking at each other like two old men for about 5 minutes. Damian Priest didn't do much before he got eliminated. I didn't recognize a single signature move or finisher from him. I literally did not see him do anything other than get pins. So it makes you wonder why he's even in this match. Orton was eliminated, followed by Riddle. Orton then with RKO Matt Riddle after the bell, and there was no punishment for that. We didn't see anyone try to stop Randy Orton from doing that. We didn't see a team compensated. We didn't see any fines or suspensions. No, just Randy Orton getting away with whatever Randy Orton wants to do. Didn't like that for NXT. We had too many eliminations too quickly. We had 3 or 4 eliminations in about literally 2 minutes. Wow. When you have eliminations occurring that quickly, how can you care about who got eliminated? How can you even care that someone hit a finisher and just pinned somebody when they get pinned right after that? It means nothing. No emotion at all.
This is the Royal Rumble where eliminations are just back to back to back. So.
Correct. That would make more sense.
Yeah.
So you've got a well thought out match with a lot of spots, but you just don't have anybody kicking out of anything. So, I mean, you just have matches that are not channeling much emotion because too much is happening too quick for anybody to care. I get it, it's supposed to be an exciting pace, but how can it be an exciting pace when there's no room for anything exciting to happen?
Right.
You're just hitting the move, pinning, hitting the move, pinning. Nobody's kicking out or doing anything extraordinary to even get that pinfall. You're just seeing basic signature and transitional moves get pinfalls. Wow, so exciting. Lower standard than the regular TV match for eliminations. To which, let's see. I said everyone bumps well for Braun Strowman as he did the runaround train around the ring, hitting people. You had people bumping and falling over the barricade and just crazy sells like that. Even though I know that Braun Strowman wasn't running over him too hard, so that looked nice. That's something that we see get stale every now and then with Braun Strowman running around and just barely touching people.
Yeah.
Even though he used to legit run them over. After that, we have that the match is becoming very predictable. Story is going, a lot of offense means you will lose soon. And it's funny how I was talking about that, and then that was the next note. After that, a single Claymore hits Braun Strowman, and that's able to somehow keep him down for an entire 10 count outside the ring. Again, who does this benefit? It doesn't benefit Drew McIntyre by having to, get a cheap win by being in the ring while the monster gets counted out. It definitely doesn't do anything for Braun Strowman because he just looks weak, not being able to even get up off the ground.
Yeah, that really got on my nerves when I saw that.
And even on top of that, the fucking Claymore happened on a split screen view. It didn't even happen on the main screen.
Oh.
Okay, that points out, like I was saying about this match going by too fast, too many spots, too much of this, too much of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't even have the cameras ready for what's supposed to be a big angle for Braun Strowman, which is the biggest guy in the match getting eliminated. So
seems a little unprofessional in my eyes.
very unprofessional. Clusterfuck. And then we have Ricochet does a Fosbury flop to the outside, which is where you run and do a backflip to the outside. You got to kind of run and spin and back. It looks weird, but it's also a cool move. And then I said he flopped on into a cover and got pinned. So there went that nice high flying move. It didn't do him any good. Then Ali rolled through with a front flip and then hit a leg drop after he jumped over top of another person. That was pretty cool. We had a tornado DDT as well, and then a nice suicide dive after that, all by Ali. And then at least Ali's dirty elimination made sense as a member of another team just kind of tripped his feet and was trying to, gang up on him behind the refs and all that. But at least that made sense. Then we had an emotional Roman Reigns eliminate Drew McIntyre with a spear from nowhere. But then Roman speared his own teammate in Baron Corbin to allow him to get pinned. Why do that? You have someone who you spent 4 years main eventing WrestleMania now doing a heelish act of spearing one of his own team members. I get that Baron Corbin's the biggest heel on the roster, but that doesn't mean you have what you tried to make your most important babyface, then commit that heelish move. I mean, that just makes no sense.
Yeah, I kind of agree, and I point out to him, well, Baron Corbin's not a very likable character, as is right now.
That doesn't mean two wrongs make a right either.
Right.
We saw the Shield Bomb actually get countered. That was innovative because that never happens. Then Tommaso Ciampa was eliminated, but notice he got more than one move in during the match. He was actually in it from the beginning, so it actually felt emotional and it felt important when he got eliminated. Who knew? Then Keith Lee hit a double cross body going across two people at the same time. That looked pretty cool. Obviously, you got to be big enough to make that look good. Seth Rollins put Keith Lee over by taking that power bomb and then actually getting pinned by it. What I did not like was how the referee counted to 3. He went 1, 2, 3, and called for the bell. What was that? Montreal Screwjob over here. The powerbomb high spot, which was Keith Lee powerbombing Roman Reigns out of the corner for a near fall, was the best high spot of the night. And that means, oh my God, is he going to lose? It's an emotional moment. Like, oh, this could be it. Or, oh, is he really severely hurt? Those are called high spots. And finally, a good spear from Roman Reigns as he impales Keith Lee to win the match for SmackDown. Really, might be the best spear of Roman Reigns' career. It's really nice. After that, we get a strong promo from Becky Lynch. She must have been reading from a script or something because this was her best promo overall. When she just goes out there and talks on her own, she normally rambles about nothing and says funny Irish things.
Okay.
Then we had the Brock and Ray package, which told the story of David versus Goliath very well, which is basically what it is. Now let's go back over here a couple pages so we can get to Brock Lesnar versus Rey Mysterio. This might be the shortest but most exciting match of the night. Notice that correlation. Brock Lesnar has amazing control over the steel pole that Rey Mysterio has. The way that he steps on the pole, just from the way that he's controlling Rey Mysterio's arm rather than the pole. Grabbing it right below the base of the wrist, not allowing any swing at all. I love the realism from that. I love the overhead suplex to the table cover that Brock Lesnar did to Rey Mysterio. I loved when Brock threw Rey Mysterio out of the ring and onto the floor, and his legs hit the rope on the way down, creating a very nasty and painful landing. Brock ran at full speed, slamming Rey Mysterio into the pole, but using his hands like this to hit the pole, creating a beautiful sound effect, but not really hurting Rey Mysterio. We saw a German suplex on the steel pole. I thought that looked goofy. They showed it over and over and over, but Rey's ass caught the pole at best. So I thought that was unnecessary. We had the deadlift German suplex. It always looked beautiful, just from Rey laying on the ground and Brock literally just picking him and throwing him over his head like he's a toy. And then we have sounds of pain and moaning from Rey Mysterio as the camera gets close, and he's just moaning and screaming in pain. That's a good lookout on this match, because again, that's emotion. That's making you feel for the underdog. It's making you say, hey, I want this guy to, to try and get back in this. It's drawing emotions, what it's supposed to do. Then we have some pros and cons real quickly. Rey hits a low blow on the Brock Lesnar from behind, and then Dominic does one from the front, but still somehow can't find Brock's dick. He completely hits his leg, almost in the back of the knee. He was so far to the right. And on top of that, afterwards we have the double 619 from Rey Mysterio and Dominic. That looked very good.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Then Dominic shows his greenness again, because Rey Mysterio does the dropping the dime off the corner, but then Dominic's splash looked more like a diving headbutt. Then we see German suplex off the corner to Dominic, that looks pretty brutal. And then nice little note right here. As Brock Lesnar is turning around to run towards the other corner, Rey Mysterio has already jumped off of it. So beautiful timing to make it look like Rey Mysterio was trying to legit jump on Brock Lesnar from behind, but just amazing timing for that, to catch him in the F5. Now, which Brock Lesnar won the match, without, needless to say.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Which is, well, unfortunate as it is, it's the right person to win. It would never make sense for Rey Mysterio to beat Brock Lesnar.
I guess. Yeah.
I mean, it just wouldn't happen.
Fair enough.
Okay, now to the main event of this fucking show.
And that is... It is the Divas Champions Triple Threat match.
Yep, being Becky Lynch, who is your Raw Women's Champion, Shayna Baszler, who is your NXT Women's Champion, and Bayley, who is your SmackDown Women's Champion. We had an okay package for a main event. It gave identity to all three women. It made you know who they were, but I really wish more time had been invested to building this story, so that way we could have overall had a better package leading up to it, and also overall more excitement heading into the main event. I don't really see why this was the main event match. Women don't have to main event everything. And maybe it's just because this was a big four, but we had women, main event in the Royal Rumble with a 30 women Royal Rumble match that was terrible, the first one that we saw. We've had a main event WrestleMania, main event Hell in a Cell. I mean, how many main events do you have to be like, okay, women can main event a show? But that doesn't mean that it should main event, because you had almost no time building into this match. A couple moments that happened on NXT with the women invading there. So on the main TV, you barely saw Shayna Baszler at all, other than when SmackDown had to do it from plane delays from Crown Jewel. So I would definitely have more reason to care about this match if there was more story to the match before the match happened.
I didn't realize there wasn't that much build up to this at all.
Yeah. Which, I mean, there could have been. I mean, you've got Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch, but I really feel like maybe Charlotte Flair should have been in there instead of Bayley, because Bayley just recently turned heel about a month or two ago.
Yeah.
So she really doesn't have the credibility, the heat, or the the spotlight necessary to make this feel like a big match. It might have been better off if Bayley was still a face at the time.
Yeah.
The entrances needed to have a big match feel. I don't know if there was even any the virtual reality stuff. There was no pyro or anything for, once again, the main event match. But starting off, Baszler hits a nice right hand to Becky Lynch and a nice sell from Becky as well. We have a nice double stomp and a cross body. It's a double stomp cross body combo. So Becky Lynch jumps off the ring apron and she hits one girl with a crossbody and basically a drop kick to another girl that's behind her. And I'm saying here is finding what Becky can do well, because Becky has no ups. White girl has no ups. She jumps off the corner and just basically falls straight to the mat. So no distance at all with her jumps, but we can find what she does well, and that's falling. Final page, thank God. Becky Lynch bridges out of a horrendous cover that Bayley is doing over top of her. Bayley is not touching Becky Lynch at all, but the referee is still counting for some reason. Even still counting when she's bridging, so I didn't like that. Baszler has already been out of this match for a good 7 minutes, maybe 5 at the shortest, but that's still a long time for what's supposed to be the toughest woman to be out of the match after 1 or 2 moves. We had an ugly roll-through sunset flip by Bayley as she jumped over top of Becky Lynch to send her into the corner. She only hit her own head into the corner. I don't know if that was poor timing and poor jumping by Bayley or if it was poor placement by Becky Lynch. But it was one of the two, I can guarantee. Overall, stiff kicks from Bayley and from Baszler to Bayley. And a nice sell as well to an elbow to the jaw as Becky Lynch runs into it. But then we see awful face mat slams to Becky Lynch from Bayley as she's just grabbing her face and just doing like this, but the hands are hitting about a good half a foot from the face, so it's just looking like this. Like it looked like a fish out of water, more than it looked like a head being slammed into the mat. I said Bayley's just making wrestling look bad at this point, as Bayley then gets on top of Becky Lynch to try and jump with basically her crotch supposed to slam the back of Becky Lynch into the ground. But once again, no connections at all. Bayley is just jumping up and down, and Becky Lynch is falling for some reason. So at this point, you wonder, where is Shayna Baszler? You wonder, why does Bayley have job face? Why did she look so sad coming out? And Corey Graves says that he expected a much faster match coming out of the gates for all 3 women, especially Shayna Baszler. And Corey Graves also said, this match is starting to go at a slow pace because none of these women can afford to make error. Well, I wonder why he may have said that after the 3 or 4 botches that I just pointed out in this notebook. After that, we have a nice double dragon DDT, I called it, as Baszler hits one person, not Baszler, Becky Lynch has one person in the regular DDT and another person in the dragon sleeper, and she just falls backwards. Baszler has a very unique gut wrench that she uses. I'm not sure if it's her signature or her finisher. Commentary didn't tell me. A good Bayley to belly that I just called a Bayley to Baszler because she did it to her. And Baszler has actually great double axe handle hits to Bayley. Very stiff, loud connection as she's just hitting her in the back with them. That looked nice. Bayley was tossed over the ropes very weakly and very sloppily, but that was saved by her having a nasty landing on the other side because she hit the apron as a result of such a poorly executed tossover. And after that, we have Baszler slamming Bayley into the corner post and then Beck got slammed into the wall, and then we see another person, I think Baszler come over the top. And after that, we have Baszler simply choke out Bayley for the win and an end to this sloppy match. And after that, we notice that Becky is attacking Shayna Baszler because I guess she's mad that she lost the match. Then she slings Baszler onto the next table, and sadly the table does not break, though Michael Cole almost called the table breaking when it didn't. And she goes through the table not breaking is. Then we notice that Becky Lynch is double jointed as she stretches her arms out before hitting a nice leg drop onto Baszler to finally break the table and end this horrible night. I can't give this show any more than a C+, even though the right team being NXT, the right brand won for the night.
Yeah, the final score was, let's see, Raw, it got like 1 point. NXT got 4 points, and SmackDown got 2.
I didn't like certain things like Brock Lesnar versus Rey Mysterio, The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan. Good matches. I just didn't understand why they were on this show. It's supposed to be the brands versus each other.
Yeah.
So it really just shows that this show was thrown together last minute. Matches were thrown together. And just overall, the show could have had a higher grade if the match quality would have been better.
I guess the match quality wasn't very consistent.
Absolutely not. So the bottom line is that this Survivor Series, for the first time that all three brands went head-to-head, the only thing I can say about it is 2019 Survivor Series overall is going to go down as not memorable.
Yeah, I mean, at first when I watched it, this was literally 2 weeks ago, so this is how late we are on this. But I thought
no, it was a full week ago. It was just 1 week. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, you're right. It was 2 weeks. I didn't finish watching the damn thing until a week later.
Yeah.
So you're right.
So yeah. Well, while watching, I thought it was my initial thoughts. I thought it was a pretty good pay-per-view. There were some things I didn't really like about it, but overall, the other things that were not up to par as they should be. Sometimes I don't let little things like that ruin a piece of media for me. Like some of the more like nitpicky stuff didn't diminish my whole experience of the pay-per-view overall. So I personally want to give the pay-per-view I don't really want to give it an A. I think I'd give it a B+, mostly because I thought it was entertaining for the most part. And there were some standout matches for me, like the opening match, and parts of the main event were fine. The main event, it just didn't feel like the main event to me. Like, because once the pay-per-view ended, I'm like, wait, what? This is it?
Yeah, there's not another match.
Yeah, I was a little confused, but I mean, overall, I definitely enjoyed it. I did. Sometimes I don't look at things with as much of a critical eye as I guess I should, but I mean, I still had a good time. I don't regret watching it by any means. It was, if I'm going to be critical on it, I'm just gonna. It definitely was not perfect. I will admit that. And Tyler definitely brought some things to my attention that I did not notice. I'm not talking about like what moves they did or whatnot. I'm talking about like exactly why certain matches went wrong.
Why certain matches don't feel the way that they should.
Yes.
Or appear that they're going to. And the bottom line is two things I want to note from the end that I didn't say. Becky Lynch said, "This is my fucking show," which that's a nice emotion. And I think Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler is going to be next year's WrestleMania match. Could be the headliner at the rate that we're going.
Yeah. So. I also loved listening to your insight on WWE and all its shows and whatnot, and because before we recorded this, I was out of town at my mom's house, and I was just listening to him for like 15 minutes, talking about his notes, and just, yeah. Our camera person is being silly.
But
one thing we actually forgot to talk about was like what the theme song, because that's how forgettable it was.
Yeah. I didn't write down the name of the theme song. I don't remember a single word. I just remember that it was very, very dancey, sounding kind of like Fall Out Boy type music.
Oh yeah, we did talk about. See, that's how forgettable it is.
Yeah,
but for real though, the last pay-per-view theme song I remember was like what, Money in the Bank 2013, I think.
Yeah, a pay-per-view theme song should be more than just, oh, I need to get my song promoted.
Yeah, because of what he told me was that apparently they're recruiting all these indie bands to make songs for these pay-per-views, and with their inexperience, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, I released a new album. Let me promote this show as a theme song. No, fuck no.
It's not.
When you're seeing a show be promoted on TV, just the theme song alone should be the first thing that catches your eyes to look up and see what's happening. What's it about?
Yeah.
So, a good show, but poor marketing. This company has no idea how to market anything anymore.
Yeah, you're right.
And you can tell just by the matches themselves that aren't marketed right, because crowd reaction tells you how good a match is.
They can get in touch with AEW then.
Right. But if you do not have deafening crowd noise for most of your match, then your match probably isn't going that well.
Right.
Or your audience isn't going that well, and that's even worse.
Yeah.
But alright, that's about all for me on this show. Let's just cheers to hope that TLC is a little bit better.
That's one of like what the big 5 pay-per-views. Survivor Series is also one of the big 5. I guess I'll give you guys a random fun fact. I think, isn't this year the 25th anniversary of Survivor Series?
I think it's been going longer than that. I have no idea.
Oh.
What I do know is that the big 4 pay-per-views, what you were talking about, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series.
I thought TLC was on there somewhere.
Nah, that's just a gimmick pay-per-view.
Oh, okay.
Gimmick pay-per-view, if you don't know, TLC, Hell in a Cell, Last Man Standing, these are all gimmick matches. And so it's a gimmick name. And I guess one last thing to say about the show before we go off is just that hope it gets better.
Yeah, you had a very interesting fun fact that we did in our first take in this video that we almost forgot to talk about, and why a certain commentator didn't show up. Do you want to talk about that?
What certain commentary? Oh yeah, certain commentary. Mauro Ranallo was out for NXT because Corey Graves made a couple of tweets just kind of poking fun that he was talking a lot and over talking the announcers during War Games the previous night, and as a result it affected Mauro Ranallo's bipolar disorder, and that's the reason he was absent from the show and the following NXT tapings, not blowing his voice out, which is what Michael Cole said was the reason.
Oh, did he actually say that during the show?
He did. And it affected the match quality as well, because the commentary for the NXT match sucked when it could have been better.
Yeah.
With Mauro there.
Yeah. I don't have any random objects, but this is a Rubik's Cube, and what's interesting about this one is, it's a regular Rubik's Cube, but it's, if y'all can hear it, it's very sticky. It's not very smooth because, cubes are supposed to be smoother than this.
Because it's Rubik's brand, the insides are basically so big and bulky they're all just rubbing against one another.
For being the first company to create a toy like this, they're not the best.
No, you can tell they're the first company to produce them.
Yeah, it's like Apple created the first tablet as we know it, but they're better tablets than the iPads. Anyway, this video was fun, a lot of fun to do.
I agree.
Yeah.
I look forward to reviewing more content actually.
Yeah, I think we want to try and review every pay-per-view going forward.
Yeah, that would be nice. And as a result of that, since we both have the WWE Network, if there's any pay-per-view that you would like us to look at or review from the past that you would be interested in hearing our opinion or thoughts on, go ahead and put it in the comment section below and we'll think about reviewing that.
Yeah.
Especially, it'd be interesting to review content that I haven't seen before, because I can't comment, oh, well, this is bad because the build wasn't that great. It would allow me to really review the wrestling that I'm seeing rather than the story.
Yeah. So, I think we're about done here. If you liked this video, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you liked it, and ring the bell to be notified of future videos I make. And his channel is a bit dormant as of right now, but we're still trying to work on stuff behind the scenes. We still have our next UWA match to work on and promote, and yeah, there's a lot. We're taking our matches a lot more seriously, and even more so than before, because we're actually, you know, trying to build hype for these matches, which is something that we've almost never done before.
Yep.
And I think we're about. I think I've already. I plugged your social media for you. So.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm the TBone186, and peace out.
See you soon. Goodbye. That's all for us.